Here are 7 mistakes that could cost you a scholarship. I made a few of these mistakes myself. I learned from them, and now I'm hoping to help you avoid them. Let's dive in. I won the Mastercard Foundation scholarship to the University of California, Berkeley. I'm humbled to say the least to have been the only scholar to be selected for that scholarship in my journalism program in 2022. And I'm happy to help you with tips on how I did it. My name is Aneta Felix, and if you find value in videos like this, and not just about how to get a scholarship by the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship Program, but also about work and study abroad opportunities in general, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, and the comment section is always open for you to drop questions that I can answer in my future videos. So without further ado, here are 7 mistakes you should not be making when you're applying for a scholarship program. Mistake number 1. Depending only on big name scholarships like Mastercard and Chevening. Back in 2017, when I first started applying to universities abroad and scholarships, all I knew about was the UK and Chevening scholarships. And Chevening was so popular back then because you'd see on social media, they had ads and they had people who would win the scholarships, and they would have these flyers or posters they would hold that would read chosen for Chevening. So it was so popular back then in my circle that all I cared about was Chevening. And you see how people talk about an obsession with the US, how they really want to go to the US and all of that. Honestly, it never crossed my mind because all I saw was Chevening, 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 UK, UK, UK. So I was really limiting myself, and eventually Chevening denied me twice. And even though those UK universities would give me like vice chancellor's award, vice chancellor scholarship, or I would get like a tuition fee waivers and things like that, it never truly was quite what I was looking for. I was like, God, I want a fully funded scholarship, a fully funded master's education where I never had to pay a dime. And that's exactly what I got eventually, a fully funded master's. They paid my visa fees, my flights, every single thing was covered. But anyway, before I even got to that level, I never really thought about, the US. It was just about, laser focus on the UK and on Chevening scholarships. And even when I eventually heard about Mastercard for the first time, I looked up the program. I was like, what? Journalism in the US at this program is 2 years? Nah, I'm not doing that. And that's because of my limiting belief at that point, my limiting information. In the UK, master's programs are like 10 months to 12 months. It's so fast, in and out, you're done. So I thought that was the norm because that was all I knew. I was like, why would I go spend 2 years doing a master's program that I can do in 10 months in the UK? Like, isn't that a waste of my time? But boy, was I wrong. I mean, 2 years flew by at UC Berkeley. And I'm like, oh my God, where did the time go? I'm so happy that I broadened my worldview, stepped out of my comfort zone, and applying to UC Berkeley was my very first application ever to any US university. You know, my very first try to a US university, to UC Berkeley, to the Mastercard Foundation scholarship, very first visa attempt, and everything clicked the very first time. So if you've been trying something for so long and it's not working out, why not try something else, something new? There's so many other lesser known scholarships, which might mean lesser competition because there are lesser applicants. Very few people know about them. So your competition is limited, and you maybe might stand a higher chance of getting selected for those scholarships. So broaden your worldview, go online, do some research, and apply to lesser known scholarships. And in fact, I will be doing a video on that in future. So watch out for that. So that's the first mistake you should not be making. Yes, apply for Chevening. Yes, apply for Mastercard. Yes, apply for all these big name scholarships. But put on your detective hat, go online, ask ChatGPT, and find out, what are the scholarships to your particular program, to your particular school, for instance. One thing you must know, however, is that these lesser known scholarships may not give you the full package like the big name scholarships. Like, they may not cover your airfare or pay for your visa fees or things like that. It may just be your tuition, and then you have to sort out your stipend yourself. It may just be accommodation and a few other perks, right? But it's better than nothing. In my case, though, I was like, God, if you're not providing everything, I'm not going nowhere, and God did that for me. But you just have to widen your horizon. And while you're applying to Chevening and Mastercard, also put in applications for these other scholarships because you never know. Mistake number 2, ignoring eligibility requirements. Now, some scholarships have very specific eligibility requirements. For example, some scholarships are only open to people below the age of 35, So if you're above the age of 35 and are ignoring that eligibility requirement, you may just be shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, imagine putting all that effort, getting recommendation letters, writing essays, and not getting it because you missed a fundamental requirement, which is, they're trying to sponsor young people. Or some scholarships, for instance, only sponsor master's programs, and you're applying to an undergraduate degree and you're hoping to get a scholarship. That may not work. Some scholarships are just for PhDs and you're applying to a master's. Some scholarships only sponsor specific programs like maybe STEM, public health, agriculture. But if you're applying for a non-related program, you are automatically disqualified from benefiting from that scholarship. Some scholarships only sponsor women, so you have to consider that before you apply. Some scholarships require you to have an unconditional offer letter before they consider you for the scholarship. So if your offer letter is conditional on a few requirements, you have to fulfill those to scale that requirement. Some scholarships require work experience, maybe 2 years of work experience, in your profession. So if you're in an undergraduate program, you may not be eligible right away if you've never had any work experience. So some scholarships require you to be currently enrolled in an undergraduate degree and then you're applying for a master's, or some programs require you to be not more than 5 years post undergraduate degree. So you must have graduated not more than 5 years ago for you to be considered for this. So some scholarships are also for certain African countries alone. Some scholarships may be just sub-Saharan Africa, just maybe North Africa, just East Africans. And if you are a Nigerian and you're applying for a scholarship that is catered specifically for East Africans, I mean, that's already a disqualification right out of the gate, and sometimes they do this maybe because they've already awarded lots of scholarships to candidates in your region and they're trying to do it for diversity and inclusion and things like that. So it's important to pay attention to these eligibility requirements so you don't invest all your time and energy, and then all that's just goes to waste just because of an eligibility requirements that you didn't meet. So read the fine lines, read the fine prints, make sure you're eligible, you're checking all the boxes before you sit to begin to write your essays and compile all the necessary documents. Okay? Mistake number 3, applying with incomplete documents. When you have missing transcripts, you have missing certificates, missing passport bio pages, these can hurt your chances. And it's funny that lots of people that are above 18 don't even have an international passport. If you're looking to apply to universities abroad, if you're looking to study abroad, work abroad, you need a passport. That's literally your passport. That's literally your global ID. So if you do not have a passport right now, that's the first thing you need to do. It does take a lot of time. So if you don't have a passport, that should be one of the first things you're looking to do. Go apply for a passport. And if I must say, try to apply for the longest year possible. If there's a 5-year passport that is 50K and a 10-year passport that is 100K, if possible, try. I know the finances may be a constraint, but try to apply for the longest possible time. You don't want to be here and have to deal with all the stress of passport renewal. Some things are just better avoided. So if you can have a 10-year passport, go for that. Try and apply for that. So you have your passport page ready to go when you're looking to apply for your tourism visa, university visa. I know this feels like a no-brainer, but people do skip these documents and it can really hurt your chances. Some universities usually have an application checklist on their websites where they list all the documents you need, all the essays you need to write. Then that's fantastic. They've made life easy for you. So all you have to do is to print out that page and have that checklist. So when you have your passport page, you can, you can tick the box. When you have your recommendation letter, you can tick that. When you have your this, your that, your English language test, this and that, you can tick that to make sure you're staying on track and tracking your progress. But if they don't have such checklists on their website, go through the website yourself for your program and create your own checklist. Write it down on your Microsoft Word, your Google Doc, create your own checklist and have that handy so you're staying on top of everything you need and every document for your application. Mistake number 4, not tailoring your application to each program. Now, a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work, just as it doesn't work for anything, even like for something as basic as a job application. You can't just take that one CV and send it to a million jobs. It has to be personalized for the job description and for what they require, right? So it's the same thing for scholarship applications and to university applications. Each scholarship and each university has what makes it different, what makes it unique from the other program. So if you're not highlighting those things and you're writing and making generic statements, it just shows that you've not done your research. You don't exactly know why you're applying to this program. You don't know what interests you, what attracts you to this school. You're just copying and pasting to so many schools. They can tell if, for example, this school is the number one in this particular program and you're not highlighting that, you're not beating the drums about this and saying this program has excelled in this area and that's one of the things that attracts me to it. Maybe the program just put out this groundbreaking research in an area you're applying for and you're not highlighting things like that. It just shows you're not reading, you're not researching, you're not aware, and you're just copying and pasting. You're not personalizing your application to each program. So yeah, it does show. So also you need to understand their values and align your goals to their values. And one thing I would always say is that the easiest question you can answer to apply to any program, a fellowship, a scholarship, whatever it is why should we hire you or why should we select you? I mean, it's so easy. It's literally the easiest. Why? Because these programs usually put up their eligibility requirements. They usually state what they want in a candidate, what they're looking for in a candidate, the kind of candidate they're looking to select or hire. So you simply take everything they say they want in a candidate and you draw parallels with your own experience, simply fill in the blanks with your experiences, your leadership skills, and all of that, and make them see, look, my experience and your requirements match up. Easy peasy. Simply read the eligibility requirements thoroughly and craft your responses to match. Use your experience to demonstrate you meet the eligibility and prove that point. Mistake number 5. Now, this relates to the previous point. You're unique, you're different from every other person. No two people in this world have the exact same experience. Like, people go through life differently. So when you're writing about you, you have to highlight what makes you unique. You can't just write something general. You're special. Hey, you are special. So don't just generalize facts. You need to go deep. Now, one thing I learned about the scholarship application process and the essay writing process is that it's very introspective. As crazy as it sounds, writing my essays to scholarship programs was a therapeutic process for me because it forced me to be introspective. It forced me to look inward and truly answer questions that I needed to answer for myself, not just for the scholarship. Your essays have to be vulnerable in a way. You need to tap into your previous and past experiences, moments that shaped you, events that really defined your life, your values. Those things are very important. And it just feels like therapy. When you're in therapy, they try to, have you reflect on your past and why you're the way you are and things like that. That's what essay writing is. Kind of feels like journaling. You're really being honest and vulnerable with yourself. That's why your essay cannot be generic. Again, your essays have to be vulnerable in some way. Like, you have to define your why. Take the scholarship aside. This is a question everybody needs to answer for themselves. Why? Why am I here? One of the hardest questions of life. Why am I here? Who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Why am I applying for this scholarship? Why am I applying to this school? Why am I applying to this program? Why now? What are my goals? What do I want to achieve in 5 years, in 10 years? How does this program add value to my life? Very deep questions, How would I use a higher education to better not just myself, but my community, to change the world? And you need to think honestly for yourself. You need to, even if you're not applying to a scholarship, you need to sit down and ask yourself these questions. These are very hard questions. You need to decide what the answers are for you. So again, very introspective process. Thought of it almost like therapy. You're asking yourself the hard questions. Even if you don't get the scholarship, asking those questions and deciding the answers for you would give you a level of clarity and insight that everyone needs for their lives. So these are some of the most vital questions you can ask yourself. You then need to write it on paper with heart and storytelling. And I mentioned in a previous video that I'm going to link in the description about the essay writing process. And I can understand how it could be a challenge to write essays. Like, ew, why am I writing about myself? Like, please. I understand. And I mentioned in that video that being a journalist made it even harder for me because all my life I read about people, I read about situations and places and events and stories about people. And now you're asking me to write about myself. That was a big challenge. But what helped for me was putting myself in third person. You know, I started to write about myself like I was writing about somebody else, and then I changed the name to me or I. The other idea that could better help you is to bring out your phone and voice record your essay answers. For example, if the essay is asking you to share a moment that shaped you, or why you're applying to this school, or what you love about the program, it may be hard to start writing like, oh my gosh, where do I start from? You like, what's the first letter? What's the first word I'm writing down? That can be a challenge, and I get it. But guess what? When you take out your phone and you decide to just talk, it doesn't even have to be awkward. You could just be taking a walk. You could just be doing the dishes and you're just recording on your phone. And you're like, well, I really like this school because it's the top 10 universities in the US. I love the city it's in. It's a vibrant city. It's close to all the industry, professionals and all the places I would love to work, close proximity with all that. It'll be easy to get internships. I really love this program because I really read about this, my lecturer, and they're doing research in this area that I'm interested in. And, I also, like I mentioned, I like the city, not just because of its proximity to, all the industry, buildings and offices and all of that. It's the weather is also warm. I mean, it's California. Look at that. I don't have to battle with snow. I like the weather in California. That's one of the reasons I'm applying to schools in this city. Maybe I have family there, you know, whatever it is, just talk about it. Talk about it to yourself. You're talking to yourself. You're not playing this for anybody. You're being vulnerable with yourself. But first of all, you must have done your research. You should have gone online to read up about this city, this school, this program. And then when you're talking about it, it makes sense because you're drawing from the research that you've done. And then look at this. Stop that recording when you're done and just transcribe. Guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, you have yourself a first draft. And from there, you can begin to edit and make it better. And guess what? It's even better when you do that because it's informal, it's more personal. You're not writing an essay and you're like, oh, this school is, and using big grammar and things that make you feel so disconnected. You're speaking and you're writing out what you've said. So it's very casual in a way, not like casual, like, say things like, I want to come to this school because I believe I go make up. Something like that. No, not that casual. But you get my point. Like the tone is more personal. And that's what people want. That's what the admission team needs to see. That you're a person with heart and soul. And they want to root for you. So now that you have your first draft, all you have to do is to keep fleshing it out, keep improving it, keep reviewing it, keep working on it, add data, relevant statistics from your field, and yeah, just keep tweaking it from there. But the point is, you got started, and starting sometimes could be the hardest thing. And guess what? You surmounted that already. Mistake number 6, copying other people's essays. So I understand the need to see other people's essays. I mean, I mentioned in one of my previous videos that I even asked a scholar, if they could share their essay with me or something. And being on the other side of the situation, I now understand why they didn't share. Even though on my channel I have shared my essays, even though not everything, paragraphs and sentences from the entire essay, right? So I understand why people will not share their essays. It's vulnerable, it's personal, it's things that you could be even ashamed about because you're sharing personal information that should not be out there for the world to see. So I get that, but if you for some reason get your hand on someone else's essay, never copy it. Use it as a reference, use it as a guide, use it as inspiration of how they word it, how they do their storytelling, how they describe the task, and how they describe their results. Never copy and paste someone else's essay because you're doing yourself a disservice. Plagiarism equals instant disqualification, right? They use plagiarism checkers because they know that there's ChatGPT and all these other tools. AI now is helping people do everything. So you'll be doing yourself a disservice if you go ahead and miss out on an opportunity because you just did not do the work. So be real, record your answers, get yourself a first draft, keep refining your essays from there. Secondly, even if you scale through the plagiarism checkers, you're likely to mess up in the interviews. You know why? Most interview questions simply have you expound on your essay answers. They simply have you say more. Oh, you said this in your application. Say more about that. And if you're not corroborating what you said in your essays, or you're forgetting and it's just not matching up, they're like, is this essay written by you? Like, is this essay your experience? So like, do not copy someone else's essays. You're gonna get stuck in interviews because it wasn't really your truth. And my advice again, keep it real. Mistake number 7, not networking with past scholars. Many past winners are willing to help. You just have to be willing to reach out to them. Many people have reached out to me on LinkedIn and on social media, and by the grace of God, I have coached them through getting the scholarship. They're fantastic. They deserved it. Not taking any credit for that. But the little tip I gave them, the little advice I gave them on how to approach the essays, I reviewed a lot of people's essays, made notes. I mean, take a look at these testimonials on your screen. People who reached out to me for advice on how to review their essays, edit their essays, how to approach the interview, saying, thank you so much. They asked me most of the things you'd said they were going to ask me, and I passed. I got the scholarship. I'm coming to UC Berkeley. All glory and praise to God. But imagine they didn't reach out to a scholar. Of course, they could definitely have gotten their scholarships without any extra help, but it helped in a little way, in any little way. Even if it was just me saying, relax, calm down, I believe in you, you've got this. Even if it was just me telling them a word of encouragement, it helped in some way or another. So try to reach out to scholars. During my time, oh my gosh, I was on LinkedIn, I was on Instagram, I was Googling up everybody who won a Mastercard Foundation scholarship. And I'm going to keep shouting out Linus and Ikra and Idris. These 3 people were fantastic. They connected me to people and I was able to get answers from them, clarity, insight. And I'm doing the same thing for other people. I'm paying it forward. I've been helping people for the past 2 years. So reach out to them. Reach out to them. Now, back to the story. It gets a bit challenging to keep track of all the messages I receive on social media. And sometimes I go on a social media detox. I could deactivate my Instagram for a whole month, 2 months, 3 months. You just won't find me on there. You check me up on Instagram and it says this account doesn't exist and I'm back again. It's important because social media can be such a noise. And sometimes I just want to cut off from all of that and focus on my real life, sometimes I do that. So imagine you sending me a message during that time and I'm missing that and maybe it's something urgent and I'm not able to help at that second. So because I do take social media breaks, because it can be hard to organize and structure all of that, I'm going to be creating an email list to keep things organized. It's going to be linked in the description. So whether you're considering applying to a scholarship, you need essay reviews, you need interview tips or personalization tips, even if it's just where to apply to, what schools, what programs, what courses you feel is best. This is what you're studying in your undergraduate and you're thinking, what do I study, for my postgraduate? How do I do this? Where do I start from? I'm happy to help, sign up. Let me know how I can help. I know what it feels like to need somebody to talk to. I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like. And I've done this for free for the past 2 years. But like I said, due to the increasing demand for my time, I'm now trying to offer more value through more structured consultations. So whatever it is, brainstorming programs, schools, scholarships, essay writing, reviews, interview guide, visa interviews. All glory to God again. Got my visa interview at my very first try. And what do they say? The US visa interview is the hardest, or the US visa is the hardest to get. So I believe I do have a lot of value to offer you there. So click the link in the description for more information, sign up to my email list, and let's keep in touch. I'm not promising anybody a scholarship. I am not on any scholarship review team. I'm just offering advice and value based on my experiences and what worked for me as a Mastercard Foundation scholar. Okay? So far, I've shared with you 7 mistakes you shouldn't be making when applying to scholarships abroad. It's by no means an exhaustive list. There's 7 more mistakes you should be avoiding in my next video. So click the link in the description for that. And if you watched up till this point and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really helps me know you find value in videos like this and encourages me to keep making more. So don't just watch and run off. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Ask away any questions you have. I'll be monitoring that and making more videos to answer your questions. Keep praying, keep believing, and I'm really wishing you success in all your scholarship and study abroad opportunities and applications.